Welcome back. All right, so the first round of the draft is done. Rounds 2 through 7 are tomorrow. Of course, we'll be doing a live stream. For the start of that, we're not doing the whole thing. There are some interesting picks still to be had. There are going to be some guys who go early in the second round, who maybe should have gone in the first round. So I'll definitely make up a best of the rest list, and we'll see where they end up going tomorrow. But Macklin Celebrini going first overall, not a surprise. So I'm wearing San Jose because, yep, they drafted twice in the first 11, and I think they hit on both of their picks. I don't do winners and losers at the draft. I know there's a lot of people in media that do and everything. I think it ends up looking silly when people are like, oh, this draft class sucks. How do you know? Like, obviously, their scouts see something different. So, could they be right? Could they be wrong? Yes, in both cases. So, I think it takes a long time to decide who did well in draft classes. And this summer, I could definitely look at that and see who performed really well with draft classes over, say, the last 15, 20 years. But I think San Jose did well drafting Celebrini first. Now, you'll notice there's numbers I've added and notes I've added. So, Celebrini was ranked first on both of the lists I'm using in this video. The list in red. So, the numbers in red are from Bob McKenzie and his final mock draft. The numbers in light blue are from Elite Prospects and their draft guide. And then in black, you'll notice I've got some notes here, and these are guys who finished at the top in certain categories that I thought was noticeable, or notable, I should say, from the Elite Prospects draft book. So, Macklin Celebrini, I don't have notes of what he was the top in, because there's too many things he was the top in from this draft class. He's definitely the most dynamic forward, seen as a player who's going to be a superstar at the NHL level. And so San Jose does the easy job of drafting him first, and now it's a matter of getting him in the lineup, using him correctly and everything. San Jose fans, I don't know how bad this team's going to be next year, but it feels like with all the prospects they've got over the last couple of years, they may not be bad for that long. At 2, it turns out the rumors were true. Mark Lazarus reported this morning that he had heard the Chicago Blackhawks had settled on drafting Lev Shanov second overall, which is a bit of a surprise, but only a bit. Lev Shanov, the best defenseman in the draft, ranked third by Bob McKenzie, ranked fourth by Elite Prospects, and just he's seen as an all-around really good defenseman, big defenseman. You're going to have a lot of big defensemen. That's obviously a thing. Then Anaheim. The Shocked Llama makes its debut during the live stream. It's something I wanted to use towards the end of the playoffs when I made that magnet up, and here we are. Beckett Sinecki, not expected to be drafted that early, but still a first-round pick. I've seen people dunking on this one, stupid GM, what's he thinking? Well, Sinecki was ranked 9th by Elite Prospects and 11th by Bob McKenzie. So he's not a scrub, he's not a terrible player. Is it a surprise at 3? Go watch his reaction to being drafted at 3. He was very surprised he was drafted at 3, as were his parents and his family. But happy? Absolutely. Over the moon. First one to pull on that jersey at a draft. And I like that jersey. I do. I like that Anaheim jersey. I know there's people who don't, but I'm fine with that. I think it's nice. So, at any rate, Sinecki goes third, which is a surprise and opens the door for Columbus to do what I feel like was the best move for Columbus. Caden Lindstrom, again, in Elite Prospects Guide, ranked as the best power forward, I should say. They also had him third on their draft list. Bob McKenzie had him 5th on his draft list. So definitely, when you average out 5-3, so you average just 4, there you go. Lindstrom goes 4th to Columbus. This is exactly the kind of forward Columbus needs. So Fantilli may very well become that first-line center for them. Lindstrom should slide in as that second-line center. And that's what you need, is that 1-2 punch down the middle. It's really important to have that. Columbus now technically has that if Lindstrom reaches his max potential. And then, as a result, Montreal can just run up to the podium and draft Ivan Demidov, who was seen as the second best prospect, both by Elite Prospects as well as by Bob McKenzie. And he was ranked at the tops of a lot of different categories, but best hands is the one that I wanted to put on the board, because I was like, you know what? Montreal absolutely needs a forward that can play like that, and so they got it. So Demidov, who I had in my mock draft going second to Chicago, because I thought, hey, you can get him on a line with Bedard. You've really got something going. Chicago drafts a defenseman, although they would find forwards with other draft picks, and we'll talk about that when we get there. So Montreal might have the steal of the draft, at least in the first round of the draft, at 5. At 6, Utah. Might have broken some Flames fans' hearts on this one. They draft Tij Aginla. The son of Jerome McGinley. He was ranked 6th by Elite Prospects, so right where they had him ranked. He was ranked 10th by Bob McKenzie, but during the season, he was flying up the list of prospects. So McGinley going at 6, I think that was probably a good move for Utah. That is the first draft pick, of course, for the new Utah franchise, even though it's still all the Arizona players and Arizona GM and all that. But still. And then at 7, Ottawa doesn't go off the board, but they do draft a player who wasn't seen as top 10 by either Elite Prospects or Bob McKenzie. Carter Yakemchuk, a defenseman, 13th on the list for Bob McKenzie and 17th on the list for Elite Prospects. But for Ottawa, another defensive prospect, and so we'll see how he does. I'm kind of surprised, mildly surprised Ottawa didn't pick up a forward, but either way, they do just need some more good young players in their lineup. They really need to make the playoffs this year, too. And then at 8, Berkeley Catton of Spokane gets drafted by Seattle. He was ranked 8th by Elite Prospects. So Elite Prospects is close on some of these. And he was ranked 12th by Bob McKenzie. So Catton, seen as a very good forward, could be a very solid pick, which means at 9, the Flames draft Zane Parekh. Seen as the best offensive defenseman in this draft, again, by the book put out by Elite Prospects. They also had him at 5th on their draft list. He was 8th on the draft list of Bob McKenzie. So Parekh, he's a guy who could very well be an excellent power play point man. He could score 20 goals in a season for the Calgary Flames. The question mark becomes the defensive side of it a little bit, but that's where you need to get your defensive defenseman that can cover for him. But for Flames fans, I think they should be excited about this pick, which means New Jersey goes up and they draft Anton Saleyev. I think this could be a steal as well. This draft class, again, though, really all over the place. Saleyev by Elite Prospects ranked as the best shutdown defenseman, and yeah, New Jersey needs that. He was ranked 4th on the list of Bob McKenzie, 12th on the list of Elite Prospects. So I think this could end up being a steal for New Jersey. As I said during the live stream, Ken Danico is going to love this guy's game. 6'7", he hits and he can skate really, really well too. Yeah, Saleyev I think is going to be a bargain. I understand the offensive side isn't necessarily a part of his game, but it's not like he's anemic offensively either, at least not in the prospect reports that I read. And then at 11, the first traded draft pick shows up. The Buffalo Sabres traded this to San Jose. San Jose uses that number 11 pick to pick up defenseman Sam Dickinson. Might be a steal here, too. He was ranked 6th on Bob McKenzie's list, 10th on the list for Elite Prospects. But again, with this draft and with how all over the place things were with reports from scouts, I think teams are probably all pretty universally happy with what they got done today, which extends to number 12. And so Minnesota trades with Philadelphia. They trade away an extra draft pick to move up a spot to 12th and get Zeev Buium. My guess is they called and asked Philadelphia. Philadelphia's like, we're not telling you who we're drafting. So they make sure they get Buium, who was ranked 7th on both Elite Prospects and Bob McKenzie's list. And Elite Prospects ranked him as the best transition defenseman. Transition is so important. Stanley Cup final. What determined who won the games? Rush chances. Transition defense, rush chances. So Minnesota thinking ahead a little bit here and getting another very good defenseman. Minnesota building a pretty good reputation with defensemen overall. Faber, you've got Buium here. You've got Brodin, of course, who's more of the veteran side of things. Minnesota does pretty well with defensemen. And, of course, their captain, Jared Spurgeon, too. And then Philadelphia, with that pick they get from Minnesota, they draft Jet Luchenko, who moved up the draft list and had a great combine. He was ranked 19th by Bob McKenzie. He was ranked 34th by Elite Prospects. I guess he really impressed Philadelphia at that combine. So Luchenko gets drafted there, and this is, again, one that I've seen, Philadelphia did terrible. We don't know. We don't. We always make these predictions coming out of the draft. This is a terrible pick, or this is a great pick. I don't do that anymore. People know why. But anyways, so Luchenko goes 13th, and then at 14th, Konsta Helenius, who drops a bit, and this was the pick that came over from Pittsburgh to San Jose that they then traded to Buffalo to move up to 11, but Buffalo drafts Konsta Helenius, who was ranked 9th by Bob McKenzie and 11th by Elite Prospects, so this may end up being a pretty good move. And then Detroit, well, they disappointed me by not drafting Cole Yzerman, but Yzerman dropped in this draft. And they draft Michael Brandseg Nygaard. So a forward drafted by the Detroit Red Wings. He was ranked 17th by Bob McKenzie and 16th by Elite Prospects. so he goes right around where he was expected to. St. Louis drafts defenseman Adam Jiricek. He was ranked 16th by Bob McKenzie, so he's right where Bob felt he belonged. 28th on the elite prospects list. So Jiricek, a defenseman for St. Louis, may end up being a pretty good pick. And then Washington is the first one that kind of goes off the board too, in that they draft Tarek Paraskic or Paraskach. Paraskic. I'll just go with it's fine. I have lots of years to figure out all the names for these players. It's fine. He was ranked 25th by Bob McKenzie and 36th by Elite Prospects. So Paraskic is definitely one that would be seen as maybe a bit of a reach. But again, GMs and their scouts may have had different notes on him than other teams. Hopefully Tariq ends up being a pretty good player for the Caps. And then at 18, Chicago with the pick they got from the Islanders. And at 18, they draft Sasha Boisvert, who was ranked 22nd by Bob McKenzie and 21st by Elite Prospects. So not really that far out of line with where he was expected to be drafted. And that's a forward added to the defenseman, and they would draft another forward. At 19, Vegas drafts Trevor Connolly, a forward, who was ranked 15th by Bob McKenzie and 14th by Elite Prospects. So we'll see how Connolly fits in with the Vegas system. Keep in mind, Vegas drafts guys in the first round. They don't necessarily keep their first-round draft picks, so does he end up playing for Vegas? We shall see. And then at 20, the New York Islanders draft Cole Eiserman with a pick that originally was Tampa Bay's pick at 20. And Eiserman is seen as the player in this draft class who has the best shot. He's a goal scorer. He's going to have to work on the rest of his game. He's a goal scorer. He was ranked 14th by Bob McKenzie and 13th by Elite Prospects, but during the year, he definitely dropped off. Eiserman was the one that was seen as maybe pushing Celebrini at certain points before we got into this draft year, and his year just, it didn't pan out. So the Islanders might have got themselves a bit of a steal. Think along the same lines as like with Ratu, who obviously now is in the Vancouver organization. But it's that same kind of idea. If you're getting a player whose draft stock dropped a bit, it may be worth that risk. At 21, the Montreal Canadiens, with the pick they acquired from the LA Kings, they draft Michael Hage, who was ranked 24th, both by Bob McKenzie as well as by Elite Prospects. So again, he's right around where he was expected to go. Igor Surin, drafted by the Nashville Predators. He was ranked 34th by Bob McKenzie, 63rd by Elite Prospects. But since it's Nashville, I feel like, you know what? They probably know something about this player that the others may not, who ranked him really low. We'll see. It's just Nashville don't have a whole lot of misses when it comes to higher draft picks. So we'll see if Surin ends up being a miss or not. But again, maybe a little bit off the board, but he goes at 22. And then we get to the third column. Stian Solberg, drafted by the Mighty Ducks with the pick they got from Toronto. I know it's the Ducks, but they're back to the Mighty Ducks logo, right? So anyways, Solberg is listed as the hardest hitter by Elite Prospects. They had him at 20th on their list, and Bob McKenzie had him on 20th on theirs. So my guess is the Ducks saw he was still available at 23. They call the Maple Leafs and say, hey, can we have that pick? And the Leafs go, sure. So with him being the hardest hitter, Ducks fans will be happy about that. And then Utah trades back into the first round yet again. They grab Colorado's pick in that trade, and they use that to draft Cole Baudouin. And he is seen as having the best motor in this draft. He was ranked 23rd by Bob McKenzie, 29th by Elite Prospects. So again, being drafted right around where you can expect. 25th, Boston drafts Dean Letourneau, who was ranked a little bit lower than when they drafted him, 36th by Bob McKenzie and 32nd by Elite Prospects. At 26, the LA Kings, with the draft pick they get from Montreal, which was originally Winnipeg's, they draft Liam Greentree, who was ranked 18th by Bob McKenzie and 15th by Elite Prospects. So again, may end up being a bit of a steal there. At 27, Chicago gets Merrick Van Acker, 28th rated. There we go. By Bob McKenzie, 33rd in the rankings of Elite Prospects. At 28, Calgary with Vancouver's draft pick. They draft Matvei Gradin. So Gradin rated 37th by Bob McKenzie. Elite Prospects not as sold on him. 91st on the Elite Prospects list. 29th draft pick. The Dallas Stars draft forward Emil Hemming. He was ranked 26th by Bob McKenzie, 40th by Elite Prospects. I would say Bob McKenzie's rankings end up being a little more accurate to where everybody fell than Elite Prospects, but it seems to depend on which column you're looking at. But yeah, Hemming goes there, and then E.J. Emery goes to the New York Rangers. That sounds like a Rangers name to me. It just does. He's a defenseman. He was ranked 27th by Bob McKenzie and 31st by Elite Prospects. So another player going right around where he would have been expected. At 31st, Ben Danford, picked up by the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's the Edmonton draft pick right there. He's a shot blocker with a little bit of offense there. He was ranked 54th by Bob McKenzie, 30th by Elite Prospects, so right around where he would have gone. And then at 32nd, the Oilers get their way into that first round by trading with Philadelphia to get what was Florida's draft pick. And they draft Sam O'Reilly, who was ranked 32nd by Bob McKenzie, 48th by Elite Prospects. So again, some difference of opinions, and I will put the top remaining prospects on a board for tomorrow. And we'll talk about that in the morning. And we'll probably have trades and signings and things to talk about tomorrow after the draft as well. So stay tuned for that. But let me know your thoughts. Who do you think did well at the draft? I think Montreal did quite well. I'm just going to say right out, I think Montreal did pretty well. I really like the Lindstrom pick by Columbus. And Chicago does end up with 3 first-round picks. So I don't think that's bad. That's right. This was Carolina's. Because I'm looking and I accidentally wrote Chicago. And yeah, that's Carolina's pick that ends up going to Chicago there where they draft Van Acker. So Hawks definitely picked up a lot of prospects today. We'll see how it goes. I do like Seattle picking up a guy that was born in Spokane, so that's kind of fun too. But let me know which pick you like. And obviously I'm wearing San Jose because I think they did well. But let me know who you think did well. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you've not done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.